How did you get into, into the wine business?
I spent my whole productive career in the wholesale lumber business.
Wow.
And ended up running a company in Portland. And my wife and I used to come out here, as well as a lot of other wineries, buying. Am I talking too loud? Too soft?
No, you're just perfect.
Used to come out here buying wine, tasting wine, and buying wine. And came out in 1992, and there was a for sale sign on it.
On the property?
On the property. And I asked about it, and they said, no, it's in escrow. That's good. I dodged another bullet, that's a good thing. About 3 weeks later, we got a call from the real estate agent. It had fallen out of escrow. And did we want to look at it? Well, yes, we did. So we came back out in early to mid-September, the most beautiful month in Oregon.
Oh, yeah,
and it was a gorgeous day, and the house was just derelict. It was just falling down. The vineyard had not been taken care of well for a long time, and I don't know, we bought it with our heart, and not as an idea for an investment.
Yeah.
And I was about then 7 or 8 years away from retirement, and as I got closer, I figured my golf game was too bad to try to play golf 5 days a week, and I really wanted to keep my hand in business.
Yeah.
So when we rented the buildings to another winery, Laurel Ridge Winery, and they moved to their own farm in the year 2000. So we started David Hill then as a label.
Well, that's quite a jump from lumber to,
Well, nothing to do with it. I mean, nothing to do with it. I made when we were renting the buildings to David Tepela, Laurel Ridge, he cut me a family price on wine. So I'd always drunk a lot of wine anyway, so it all worked out nicely.
Now, are you all estate? Are you, all
about
the wines?
80%.
80%.
We buy some wines that we make a couple of blends out of our signature wines, our Farmhouse Red and our Farmhouse White. The Farmhouse. We use that on the logo for the label also.
Makes sense.
And the last year we bought some stuff out of the Yakima area and made what we've called a mosaic. It's just a blend again.
Of reds.
Of red. The year before we bought some grapes down in the Umpqua area, Rogue Valley area, wherever, and made a wonderful, wonderful Merlot out of it. But mostly the other 80% is here, Pinot Noir, about 50% of our property. We've got about 40 acres, roughly. About 50% Pinot Noir, probably 20% Pinot Gris, 10% each Riesling, Chardonnay, Gewurz. And then there's a few rows left over from Charles Coury. I think I mentioned this to you. Charles Coury's experimental planting. So there's a few rows of Semillon and a few rows of Sylvaner, and a little bit of Muscat, and a little this and a little that. And but we primarily have 5 varietals from the property.
Okay.
The 4 whites and the Pinot Noir.
Now, the history then, Charles Coury, he was the first one to use this property then as a vineyard.
No, it was used as a vineyard starting in 1883 by reach for it, Mr. Reuter, R-U-E, not R-E-U, R-U-E-T-E-R.
What was his first name?
Oh my goodness, try Frederick maybe?
Frederick?
God, who knows? Ernst, Frederick something, I don't know. I can dig around and find that for you. And he was he was from Alsace, and he was making Alsatian wines. And I just sort of imagine that he brought cuttings with him when he emigrated from Alsace, because he was making Pinot Blanc and Gewürztraminer and a couple other typical Rieslings.
Gosh, I wonder what attracted him to this particular location.
I don't know that. Land was, who knows? God knows. Land was cheap. There's probably no government agency telling him what he could or couldn't do.
Yeah. Probably didn't need a permit to bring in the cuttings, too.
Oh, probably not. Probably never asked. You know. Charles Coury, by the way, brought in what he called suitcase clones.
Was that?
And we've got some. We're still using them down there. Anyway, Mr. Ritter, I think I mentioned to you on the phone, he was running a pretty successful vineyard and making wine. And he had he was shipping, probably through his contacts from Alsace, he was shipping wine to Europe.
From here?
From here. He also he got some kind of a gold medal at the 1905 Lewis and Clark exposition in St. Louis. It was the centennial, I guess, of the Lewis and Clark trip in St. Louis. And he had good customers. Well, in 1913, two things happened. I think I did mention this to you, but two things happened. One was he was shipping large casks of wine, and the stevedores got hold of it and siphoned it out and replaced it with water, and it shipped on to Germany or wherever it was going, and of course it was refused, and he didn't have any backup capital, and it broke him. At the same time, Oregon went dry in 1913.
Is that right? It's that same year?
The same year. In any case, the grapes had to be torn out because he had to produce a product, a crop that he could sell.
Yeah.
So he put in a lot of orchard stock, a lot of plums and various plums. There's still some little tiny cherry plums down there. They look like yellow cherries, but they taste like an apricot. They're really flavorful.
Like an apricot?
It has that flavor to it.
Oh, that's
And they have a
interesting.
pit that is not unlike a cherry pit. It's not a freestone or whatever you would call it. It adheres to the fiber of the, you know what I mean, not like an apricot, like a plum does.
Yeah. Huh. And did he leave any vines at all, or did he pulled them all?
I think he probably pulled them all to use the land as much as he could.
Yeah.
Anyway, the property went through several hands then over the years, and Charles Coury bought the property in 1965. And it didn't know, he came up from UC Davis, not along with, but about the same time as David Lett, and didn't really know. I mean, it was all experimental planting. They didn't really know what was going to grow or sell, and that's why all that stuff that I'm talking about that were planted. The original plantings were those last few that I mentioned: the Semillon and the Sylvaner, the Riesling. There were Pinot Noir he planted then.
Oh, he was, huh?
Yeah, and he planted maybe about 10 acres to start with, and from what I have read, he was a visionary, but not a very good businessman, and he lost the business, had to sell the business, and he sold it to a group that ended up being Laurel Ridge.
So, like, you say, and he was planting, and he started planting in 1965, you say?
Yeah, 1965.
Yeah, that's pretty early on.
Yeah, it is. And that's as early as any Willamette Valley grapes were planted.
Yeah.
I don't believe there were probably some in southern Oregon.
In Umpqua, there's supposed to be
Ridgeview or something like that. That planted about 1959 or something.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious too. It's like that 1883 when Reuter planted. I mean, that's pretty early on. I'm kind of curious about those guys. And apparently down southern Oregon, there were some guys, maybe even a little bit earlier than that had done some planting.
I suppose.
Yeah. Is there any evidence or any photographs or anything of that?
There's in a book by the Fodors people that do.
Oh, is that right?
That picture that you showed me, they've got that picture in their book. This is a year-old book now, and then as you flip through, they picked up a couple of old pictures and added it to it from 100 years ago, kind of.
I wonder where they got those.
Well, I don't know. I would think the Washington County Historical Society would be a good shot. Perhaps the Oregon Historical.
That's interesting. And like, you don't have any historical photographs like of Coury's?
I have a lot of memories from it.
Oh, is that right?
There was an old shed right just right here, not where this driveway patch is, but just beyond it. It was a falling down chair. We knocked it down when we bought the property because it was dangerous. And I remember coming out here, and Coury was selling his wine when he was going out of business. He was selling his wine, and he was selling it for $1 a bottle.
$1 a bottle.
And I said, well, hell for that. I said, I could clean paintbrushes. He says, that's about all it's good for. His words, not mine.
Oh, poor guy. And you say that you had memories. So Laurel Ridge, let's see, I'm a little bit confused. So Laurel Ridge bought it from Coury.
They invested money with Coury.
Oh, I see.
And then I'm really not sure. I shouldn't be put on in print for that because I'm really not sure. I know that they invested money with him, and then they ended up with the business because it wasn't going well.
Yeah. Okay.
And they had a few partners in their business. David Tepela was one. Helmut Chateau Bianca. I can never remember Helmut's last name, but he was one. And a fellow named Mike Dowsett was one. And anyway, so the property came up for sale. They operated it from rough and dirty 1980 to 19. Well, it continued, but they owned the property from then. And in 92, when we bought the property, we actually bought it from the bank. And then Laurel Ridge continued to operate here until the year 2000, and they are still in operation in Carlton.
Right. Yeah. And when you first saw it, I mean, like the house's nice appearance, but you said that it was quite let down.
For the 2 years before we bought it, it had no occupants except 2 Siamese cats that went in and out from a broken window, and mostly went in, as I could tell. And it was really falling down. It was terrible, and we thought that we wanted to restore it and make a tasting room out of it.
Well, wasn't it a tasting room
down below in the winery building?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Huh.
We still get people that come up. Gee, we haven't been here for a while, and I thought the tasting room was down in the winery. You haven't been here for a while. It's 12 years ago. Well,
I remember, coming up here one time and actually photographing when it was Laurel Ridge.
Is that right?
Yeah. That was quite a while ago.
We've got a black and white photograph in there, and you might know, and God, I can't remember the fellow's name, but it's a photograph taken around 1990, I think, and it's before all this was planted. Nothing but blackberries up there, and he's got shadows and clouds. It's really a striking photograph.
Yeah. And so now when you bought it, it's like, what was your idea, or what was your vision? Because, I mean, like the house.
I backed into it. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, you looked at the.
I think I looked at the house and said, God, I'd really like to be responsible for fixing that up.
Really?
And I looked at the vineyards and said, I'd like to be responsible for improving them.
Yeah.
And as far as the winemaking, they stayed on and made wine here, and say we rented the buildings to them, so that worked fine. And I kept looking for a way to join Tepela in the business, and finally tried to buy him out, and we couldn't get together on price, and that was when he moved to his own farm, which is a beautiful place. He's got 240 acre and he's gone now. He had 240 acres down there, and there are only a very small number of them planted.
Yeah.
And some of those have, as I understand, a phylloxera or some other problems.
Oh, is that right?
Or had. Maybe those vines are gone now. I don't know.
Yeah. It's really a nice setting. Like these big rolling hills come right down onto.
They're really pretty.
Onto the building and stuff. Yeah. It's really nice. Yeah. So then you rolled up your sleeves and. I got the pocketbook out.
Wrote a lot of checks. The winemaker from Laurel Ridge stayed with us, Pascal Valadier. And he stayed with us until 2005. 2 years ago, he quit, and Jason Bull, B-U-L-L, joined us. Coincidentally, from Laurel Ridge. I mean, it's incestuous.
Oh, really? It was kind of a turnover.
Yeah.
Huh. And that's interesting. And when you were first when you first purchased it, what were your thoughts? Like where did you want to go with the property?
No, I'm not sure I had any thoughts really.
Just jump into it.
I was still 7 or 8 years away from retirement, and I was working my full 50, 60 hours at that job, and I didn't really have any idea. Just that it was kind of neat to be participating in the vineyard stuff.
Yeah. And so when you look forward, like where do you want to go?
Well, I'm 74 years old, and so it's a question. I don't seem to have any of my offspring that are interested in. I mean, first of all, they can't earn a living. It's very hard to earn a living in a 6,000 case operation. Having said that, we do 6,000 cases, and we just broke through $500,000 in sales for the first time last year. Okay, I visited a month ago in Walla Walla, the Leonetti Winery. They do 6,000 cases. They're doing $4.5 million in sales. They sell theirs for $75 a bottle. We don't. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So where do I want to go? We just had some logging done, and it's a little hard to see, but way over you see a road. That's not our property way over, but this side of the trees that are still standing are down in a ravine, and we've logged. Well, lo and behold, with the trees out of there maybe are 4 or 5 acres there that are plantable, which I never knew about. And the same thing on the east side.
That looks like it's pretty steep, though.
It's pretty steep, but there are some benches in there.
So it's enough, like that tractor.
Yeah, it wouldn't be any steep. Yeah, it wouldn't be too steep.
You don't have to.
Might have to do a little terracing. I don't know. And I don't know how expensive it'll be yet to try to prepare that land. We'll find that out.
Yeah.
Because the stumps have got to come out and all that. Anyway, wouldn't it be nice if we, to get back to your question, where do we want to go, if we were able to increase from the 5,000 estate cases that we do to 10,000 estate cases. Among other things, it makes the property that much more valuable to anybody that might decide they would like to buy it.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to market the property at all. I haven't. I'm still happy. I've got a wife that would like to travel more and not be tied down to this dairy. That's
to the dairy.
This dairy. I mean, it's like a dairy. You can't let go. Not really. I mean, I'm not that important. We have a very wonderful tasting room manager, Michelle, and a very good winemaker, Jason.
Yeah.
And they do a good job of keeping their arms around the operations. We've got Jason's assistant, who's been with us for 10 years, I guess. The farm workers out there, Milo, our foreman, has been with us for 8 years. We got a good steady group.
Yeah, a team that you can kind of depend on.
Yeah.
Trying
to, you're asking a question now, where do I want to go? Well, two different pulls. One I'd like to make more wine. Can we sell more wine? Do we want to sell more wine or make more wine, or do we want to just keep increasing the quality of the wine we're making, therefore hopefully moving the price up? I don't have a clear direction.
Yeah. What kind of when you think about like this, stepping into this adventure, what are some euphoric moments that you've had?
Euphoric moments.
Something that just, whoa, this really worked, or
I think preparing, increasing the production of the vineyard. This, like you say, was all blackberries. That's 10 acres. It was all blackberries. And in '96, we had to hire the biggest Caterpillar tractor you've ever seen. What am I trying to say? A bulldozer. Huge. And it pushed down hydraulically big shanks, and then would move and rip the ground. It ripped it 4 feet down.
4 feet down?
Just amazing. And it ripped out all the blackberry vines and all that stuff. And got it planted. And then we have one little plot down here that was full of blackberries until, years go by so fast, I guess till about 6 years ago. And we got that cleared out and planted that. Now those are things, I don't know why, I don't even have any farmers in my heritage. I don't think there were any Serbian farmers. Well, there's no farms in Serbia there. It's all rocks and mountains. But there's something that just is very gratifying to me about improving some land or using land that wasn't being used before. Maybe that's what drives me with the idea of the where the logging is taking place.
Yeah.
I guess. What else do I like? I like driving up above when I come every day. I'll go up and turn around. Mostly to see if there's too many beer bottles up there. The kids sit up there and drink beer on it. But looking down over the property from there is just a delight.
Yeah, down into the valley, and it's an incredible view. Yeah.
And I don't even mind looking at the books anymore. They're getting better.
Are they? What about like what kind of like disappointments or like a heartbreak or something that's happened? That
I guess disappointment. Anytime people disappoint you, that hurts, and I suppose it usually hurts because you look and say, "Jesus, was it my fault?"
Or, what are you thinking?
Oh, I don't know. There's nothing for this. I think that other disappointments when distributors don't work out, and you wonder why. What's the matter? And those things I think are behind us now. We're starting to get a good following with the quality of the wine now. We're staying in a very popular priced level. Our estate Pinot Noir is $15, $14, $15. And I've heard people say, you can't make any money unless you can get $20 for it, because when you sell through a distributor, you're getting half that.
Right.
And I may or may not be true. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you get disappointed when the tractor breaks down.
Yeah. Especially when you have to spray and it's going to rain the next day or something.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't dare not.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that'll be the last spray, I hope.
I hear that a lot, but this has been a pretty interesting August.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah.
Every year is different, I guess. A farmer's lot is not a happy one to steal from Gilbert and Sullivan, right?
What kind of soil types do you have out here, and how deep?
I have no idea how deep, but it is a laurel wood and Melbourne.
Melbourne, what's that?
I have no idea what the hell it is. What do I know? It's dirt. I don't know. I don't know. It seems to grow stuff.
Huh. I don't know that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the same stuff you get in Dundee.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the laurel wood is pretty common, but the Melbourne, huh? I wonder if you imported it from Australia.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. And I know that you told me on the telephone, but why the name David Hill?
Well, this whole property, the whole mountain here, was owned by a Frederick David. Maybe that's where I got that Frederick name before. You better scratch that. I'll find that out. It was owned by a Frederick David, and for years it was called David's Hill. And someplace along the line, the apostrophe S got dropped, so it became David Hill. Okay, and David Hill Road, which runs across it. Okay, Laurel Ridge left in the year 2000, and we're looking for a name. It seemed like we went through Hilltop and blah, 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 and it seemed like a pretty logical choice.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy. We get a lot of phone calls. Is David there? They're selling something.
Yeah.
No, we don't have one.
I think the biggest thing I was kind of looking for is like that historical perspective, and then also, how you got into it, from left field, getting into, into the wine business.
Yeah, I say we backed in. I mean, that's kind of how it happened, because we bought the property. Okay, so now we bought the property, but I was still gainfully employed for another 7 years.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of energy. I mean, like when you see the house, and especially with your proclivity for clearing land and wanting to make things right, is like you're torn.
Yeah, but I didn't drive the tractor. I drove around and I walked around and looked at stuff that needed to be done, and we got it done.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate during the period of time when the wineries really hasn't made much to any money yet, but the value of the property has gone up just because of the times. I mean, as you drove up here, you saw all the housing that's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of it unsold right now, I'm sure.
Yeah, but another year or 2 years.
Another year or two, it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
As long as the people that own it have deep enough pockets to to weather it.
Yeah. What's your thought? Like this is on the political side. I'm just kind of curious. Is like Measure 37. A lot of wine growers are really dead set against 37, and the reason is like in our neighborhood, we've got a couple of farmers that are subdividing, and I mean it just so next to a vineyard are going to be these McMansions.
I guess my thinking about the McMansions down the hill from here or whatever the houses. I hope they all drink wine.
They don't have a long ways to go.
No, we could set up a delivery system. I don't think you can fight the progress. If you want to call it progress, regress, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think you can fight it. I think you.
But it makes it a little tougher. Like you're spraying it here, and if you had 12 McMansions over there, they would all be on the phone complaining that like the sulfur spray is coming in through your window.
I suppose the. We're in a farm zone. We're zoned as a farm.
Yeah, so are we, but we're being subdivided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what a complainant can do except complain.
Yeah.
But who knows?